Alright, so this is my fan Rotom Wailord EX mill/OTK deck. The OTK aspect comes from fan Rotom's ability, his Spin Storm. If your opponent only has one Pokemon on his side of the field, just the active Pokemon, and you use Spin Storm, which requires two of any color energies. Its ability is flip a coin. If it's heads, your opponent returns the defending Pokemon and all cards attached to it to his or her hand. And of course, if he has no Pokemon in his bench to promote into the active spot, he'll lose. That's a basic win condition right there, right? So you can, if you get in that situation, then it's great. To help with that potential scenario, you have Victini. Has Victory Star, which is the ability you'll use. The only purpose for it is so that way if you don't get heads in your first flip, you'll get to flip again, and hopefully you get heads in the second flip. This just increases your chances of potentially getting Fan Rotom's ability. So that's what Victini is there for. To help you get the double colorless energy, which this deck only has the double colorless energy. There's no other energies in the deck. You can use Draw Power to help you set up. Use Draw Power, requires no energy to use. Search your deck for an energy card, show it to your opponent and put it into hand, shuffle your deck afterwards. You notice it says energy card, not basic, which means you can add a special energy card like double colorless energy. So that's what Binary level 13 is there for, to help you get your double colorless energy. Since there's really no draw engine in this deck, because you don't want to deck yourself out, since you are doing the Wailord EX deck out strategy, we are just adding an extra combo in the deck to increase your chances of stalling, as well as even increase your chances of OTKing your opponent if you end up in the right situation. A usefulness of using Fan Rotom's ability, other than just disrupting your opponent's plays, getting rid of his megas and his getting rid of his mega EXs and any stage 2 Pokemon in a single shot, Evoltol EXs, get rid of them real quick, right? Along with all the energies they probably build up on the Evoltol EX. You get rid of them, stall longer. You could of course potentially just win off of Fan Rotom. Especially, but what I was trying to get to now, I lost track for a second. Fan Rotom, a good target for Fan Rotom's ability. Shaman EX, especially if Shaman EX is in an active spot, you can use Spin Storm, bounce it back to your opponent's hand, and your opponent might get tempted to play it. You're hoping he does. He plays it to his bench, draws some extra cards, and that helps you thin them out. So that's a pretty good target to use Spin Storm on, because it could potentially force your opponent to draw more cards, which will in turn help you deck them out faster, so you can take advantage of that. So that's part of what makes Fan Rotom useful. Most decks do main deck Shaman EX. It's a pretty good popular card, so you'll run into it at some point in time. But typically you might deal with some really powerful combo style decks and strategies. So Fan Rotom's Spin Storm ability will help you disrupt those strategies and combos. It'll force stuff, it'll reset stuff. This is useful against something like Blastoise. If Blastoise gets special summon onto the field, or your opponent actually evolves up to the Blastoise that has the ability, I just forgot its name, of the ability to it starts with a D or something like that. It has the ability to attach a whole bunch of water energy in any shape, way, or form you want. So if he ends up with all the energies, you can just spin storm him and just bounce him back to your opponent's hand, you know, and then he would have to start trying to evolve back up to that, you know, slowly but surely. I mean, this is just great in general because you know, some decks can hit pretty high numbers, especially if your opponent evolves into a mega. I saw a mega, I forgot what it was. I think it was a Mega Charizard, I think, or some mega, and had an attack that does 300 damage. I'm like, are you kidding me? That can definitely take down a Wailord with one shot, and you don't want that to happen. You want Wailord to be MVP, right? Stall like crazy. So being able to use Fan Rotom to potentially get rid of that type of threat to Wailord's mighty survival is very important. As you can see, Wailord has 250 HP, so he can take a good amount of hits. You know, he can take 2 hits and still survive. Most Pokemons, you know, they do die if they get double shotted, right? They get hit twice, they relatively get taken down. At least Wailord can survive 2 hits, even if your opponent is doing 100 damage plus a muscle band for like 120. 2 120s is 240, you're still alive by 10 points. And then all you have to do is just heal, or, you know, use AZ, Cassius to, you know, take that Wailord off the active zone, active spot, and then put out another Wailord EX that has fresh 250 HP back, you know, onto the active spot. And then we got Pokemon Catcher to help control your opponent's side of the field. You know, if you get hits, you have the ability to switch his active Pokemon with one of his bench Pokemon. So you want to put one of his useless Pokemons in the active spots, like a Shaman EX, for example. Put it into the active spot, so that way, you know, since typically Shaman EX is just only being used for its drawing ability, so that would be considered a useless Pokemon to put in the active spot, going up against a 250 HP Wailord EX. Escape Rope. It's also for the same purpose, to get rid of your opponent's, you know, strong Pokemon that can deal a good amount of damage, like a, you know, Yveltal EX. And then advance forward a Wailord that has 250 HP in case the Wailord that was active got dealt damage. You can switch out, and then as long as you still have rough seas on the field, you can constantly heal every turn 30 damage from the Wailord EX that's currently in the bench, as well as the one that's active. In case your active EX is getting dealt damage, you can heal him and the bench one until you're fully healed, right? Again, stall. The longer it takes for the Wailord to go down, the better. We got VS Seeker. It helps you search out your AZs, your Lysanders. You know, you might need your Zero Sick, which would be very useful in getting rid of any Poke Tools like Muscle Bands, the G Booster. You definitely want to get rid of that type of stuff, because you can see Wailord EX is weak to grass Pokemon. So, you know, if a grass Pokemon can produce, let's see, 130, can hit for 130 damage, times that by 2, that's 260. You know what I mean? You want to avoid that. Of course, you could play another field spell. Forgot what it's called. That has the ability, Ancient Tomb, if I'm right. Yeah, Ancient Tomb makes it where Pokemons don't have weaknesses, and that'd be a good field spell to stadium to play, because that way Wailord doesn't have weakness to grass, so that'd be useful against a grass deck. Let's Alright, we have Pad, which will let you recycle from your discard pile to supporter cards and put them back in your deck. It's so that you can recycle your AZs, your Cassius, your Lysanders, even your Zero Sec, which is, helps you control your, it helps you get rid of Poke Tools. It also helps you get rid of special energies like double colors. So, slowing down your opponent from having anything good. Then of course we have AZ, which is put one Pokemon into your hand and discard all cards attached to it. This is a way you can bounce, a damaged Wailord EX in your active spot back to your hand, so that way you can advance another one into the active spot, or bring out the Fan Rotom into the active spot, so that we can give it the double colorless energy and then try to go for its Spin Storm ability, and do what you want to do with that. Then Lysander. We have Lysander, so that way you can obviously control your opponent's side of the field. The whole idea is to stall, so advancing into the after spot. Useless Pokemons. It's very useful because they can't do nothing against a Wailord EX, so the opponent's gonna have to waste resources. And that's the other thing, you want to make them waste resources or force them to search out resources like energies and stuff like that from their deck to help them try to retreat and do other stuff. So like you're forcing them to do more stuff. So this comes into play. You're trying to force them to waste as much as possible, and then you're doing stuff like that, like use Lysander, right, to advance a Pokemon that has a lot of energy, and then use Fan Rotom. Hopefully you get his effect off, bounce that Pokemon back to their hand, and then all the energy will also be thrown back into their hand as well. And then they gotta start all over again. That's just more stall, more waste of their time. It will be annoying for your opponent, and that will be part of the fun, right? Cassius essentially does pretty much the same thing as AZ. It'll shuffle the Pokemon back into the deck along with all the cards that's attached to it. This is in case you don't want your double colors to go to the graveyard. By using AZ that's on your Rotom, you can play Cassius instead. That way you can take Rotom and the double colors and throw it back into the deck. That way you'll still have the double colors for later. Do wish there was a way to recycle, like a way to grab the double colors from the graveyard, but whatever. Do what you can, right? Do what you got. Pokemon Fan Club. This will help you, get your combo pieces. Simple enough. Because you definitely don't want to end up in a scenario where you have like maybe a Victini in your active spot and you have no Pokemons for your bench, right? So the good thing is, Pokemon Fan Club will help you grab some Pokemons. Obviously, you want to grab a Wailord and a Fan Rotom, or if you already have a Wailord in the active spot, you can grab a Victini and a Fan Rotom. You want to grab your combo pieces. We already mentioned 06. It helps you get rid of any special energies and Pokemon tools that might be a threat to you. Rough Seas, so you can constantly heal your Wailord EXs and also your Fan Rotom, especially since Fan Rotom will be one of the Pokemons you would have in your active spots other than your Wailord EX. So if you ever get in a scenario where you decide to use Escape Rope, for example, and then you can just switch out your Fan Rotom and into the bench, bring out Wailord, use your Rough Seas ability and heal the Fan Rotom. That way he can still be active, because you don't want your Pokemon to get knocked out. And Fan Rotom is only 70 HP and he is weak to dark, so what's his name, Evotile, something of that nature. Darkrai can take them down relatively easy, with one shot. So you might want to avoid that. Your Victini, 60 HP, can be taken down relatively easy. Baneri, same goes for that. I mean, there is the potential of these getting put into the active spot by your opponent's escape ropes, your opponent's, Pokemon catchers or Lysanders. Anything of that nature can happen, but that's just the nature of the game. I can do it to my opponent. No surprise, they can do it to me, right? But it has the potential of annoying your opponent, it has the potential of stalling your opponent. They might get a couple prizes, but as long as you end up ultimately decking them out, that's what matters the most. And of course, the double colorless energy and the rough seas to heal your electric and water Pokemons by, heal 30 damage from all of them. And that's the end of the deck profile.